Let me go to David in Louisiana. Hey, David.
Hey, good morning, Dan. It's cold in Louisiana. Insurance costs have gone up, so global warming and hope and change is not working for me. I have a question about inflation.
Okay.
I heard you talk about we're in a almost no inflation. However, a new car costs a lot more than it did, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A house costs more. Milk, bread, normal living costs more. So how, not being an economist and not understanding a lot about inflation, can you rapid fire explain the lack of inflation?
Yeah, I will. Now I'm just going to qualify my explanation by saying that this is an explanation based on Dan Celia's philosophies, not anybody else's. So let me just say this. So I'm talking about core inflation, number one, when you strip out food and energy. Obviously, there's been energy in a deflationary mode. The deflation in energy, number one, has outweighed even things like dairy products when we start talking about food that is going up dramatically. So it offsets that a little bit right now. But here's the other thing that I am considering as an investor or someone that is talking to people investing. We have to take a look. So when I think of inflation, and you probably do too, David, when we look at inflation, we think, well, my dollar doesn't go as far today, right? We look at our purchasing power as we should. And that's very, very important. We should never lose sight of that at all. That's why I'm so pro creating income leading up to our retirement years, because we've got to think of our ability to pay for consumption. But to be fair about the inflation argument, from my perspective, I got to look at the dollar. So we have seen the dollar increase by about 14%, and just 4 or 5 months ago, it was closer to 19%. So we've seen the value of the dollar increasing, going up. So the opposite argument would hold true of the argument that we always hear. Well, you can't just be in a money market. You're not even beating inflation. You're losing money. So my argument has been, and this primarily last year when I was telling people to stay in cash 100%, you're actually making money because your purchasing power is increased. Well, we never hear that because advisors don't ever talk about that. That might encourage you to stay in money market. So we never hear that side of the argument. So when you factor in the fact, and forget about why the dollar is going up, forget about the phony, the idea that the dollar is going up based on the basket of currency that's in the tank. Forget about that for a moment. The fact of the matter is, it is increasing in value. So when you look at all of that, I think you can make an argument that there's no inflation, even though I know when I go to the grocery store, I'm paying more for milk, eggs, and cheese than I've ever paid. Three very important staples in my life. So when I look at that, obviously it's hard to say that there isn't any inflation, but just purely from a number standpoint. So we look at that, and we have been in somewhat of a deflationary mode. Yes, automobiles are more expensive. There's a lot of things that are a lot less expensive as well. But at the same time, I think it's fairly safe to say, based on that assumption, that we have not seen a whole lot of inflation. It hasn't helped this economy because we've also haven't seen any wage increases in over 10 years during a period of time when there was considerable inflation. So wages are still dramatically in the hole, and I don't think we can create, or there could be enough deflation, not that we want to create deflation, in order to make up for the loss of wages.